obviously disappointing loss for us last week. I thought, after looking at the tape, same things, same thoughts coming after the game. Our turnovers and our penalties came at crucial times. They were very costly during the game. Got to get those things cleaned up. I thought our effort was good. I thought defensively we were running around, a lot of guys chasing the ball, doing some things there. Got to be better, obviously, third down on both sides of the football. Offensively, looking for bright spots. Thought our offensive line played well. I thought our running backs played extremely well. Did some good things in those areas. Just were not consistent enough throughout the game. Those are the things we got to continue to keep building on. Obviously, game 1 to game 2 is where we've got to see some vast improvement and some more consistency. As we approach this week, Oklahoma State, outstanding football team, extremely well coached on both sides of the football. They're very talented. They got weapons offensively. Sanders coming back, I'm sure is going to be a boost to them. Not only the experience that he brings, but also just his athleticism. Things break down, he gets his feet going and he can get out of the pocket and do some really good things. Obviously in the run game, it adds another factor to it as well. Brown and those guys in the backfield have done an outstanding job throughout. They've got talent back there and they got talent on the edges. I mean, Presley he's fast, he's elusive, he can make plays. Got to do a really good job of tackling him in space. Martin is obviously a threat, a little bit bigger receiver. I know they're working and getting him more involved. And then when you look at him defensively, I think Coach Knowles does an outstanding job. I mean, just he's creative. They're very gap sound. They give you a lot of different looks. You look at their secondary, they disguise everything extremely well. Play a lot of different coverages, and they've got good guys back there. But, really, Malcolm is all over the field, makes a ton of plays for them, has for years. You look at their safeties and all those guys being back, you really feel as though they didn't lose anybody. And I know they graduated some guys, but that being said, the guys that are playing right now, they've started games. They played in a ton of games. They've got a ton of experience. So, they just reloaded and they're ready to go. So it's going to be a great test for us come Saturday, but our guys are looking forward to getting back on the practice field today, and getting back on the game field come Saturday.
Coach, what did you make of the way Davis played last week? I mean, obviously a very different spot from what we had seen in the one quarter against Tulane. It's one thing to be thrown in. It's another to have the whole offseason to prepare, but he just never didn't appear to settle in or be comfortable. What did you make of that, and what are some of kind of the teaching points for him this week?
Well, I mean, obviously it's his first start, and I think the hype maybe coming into it, built up from what he did in the Tulane game, was a little unfair, obviously. But he's a guy that we got a ton of confidence in. We see what he does on the practice field. You saw flashes of it at times the other night. It gets back down to just being consistent, taking what they give you, not trying to do too much, being accurate with your throws. And, he can do all of those things. Now, he's young. He's had one start now. He's played, 5 quarters. So there's some growing pains that you do have to go through with a young quarterback. That being said, I know he's up here right now. He's watching tape. He's doing what he can to prepare. And, he's anxious to get back on the field as well.
Philip, the normal growth that you anticipate between the first and second games, do you think that is where you're going to see maybe the penalties and turnovers? Do you expect that to decline just because it is, the difference between game 1 and game 2?
Well, I don't want to bank on that. Obviously, we're going to address it. We're going to continue to keep emphasizing it like we have. More than anything, like I said in the opening comments, those penalties and turnovers came at crucial times. We had a big run, fixing to be first and goal down there with the Nerix run, first and goal from about the 7 or 8. Feel good about where you're at, about to extend the lead. Penalty right there really hurts us. the turnovers, when they occurred and how they occurred. We're in tough situations, opportunities to get points in many of those instances. And so you got to be smarter. We have to be smarter when we get into those situations. And yes, I think he's going to learn from those things. And obviously those are going to be filed away. But his improvement from game 1 to game 2 is, I think you will see that. Yet again, let's don't put the emphasis on he's going to be, Superman come out because it's week 2. I mean, you still got 5 quarters. He's still going to make some mistakes, and we still got to grow together.
Did it help having a Thursday game and then the next one being Saturday? Was there an opportunity for another day or two in there of preparation?
Well, it gave us a little bit more time from the standpoint of being able to watch that tape, being able to really dissect it, do a great job of just teaching off of it, I think, at every position. And, the good and bad to that is, like, you would have liked to have been on the practice field a little bit quicker and do some things, yet, you had to leave it kind of sitting for a little bit longer than what you really wanted to. And if you were playing on Saturday, you would be pushing past it a little bit quicker.
Coach, all the improvement or all the momentum, I guess, you guys built with that from last season, carrying it over this season, starting this year off with a loss like last week. How do you keep it from, what do you do with your team? What do you say with your team, not having that loss torpedo everything that you had built over kind of the last year?
Kind of the same thing I said to them in the locker room and after the game. One game doesn't make the season. That's just one game. We've got a bunch of football left in front of us. We can't let that label us of who we are and what we're going to be. Still feel like we've got an excellent football team. Now we got to come together. We got to play together. We got to eliminate some things, and we got to be better in other situations. But that will not define us. We'll see where we're at the end of the year, but it's always going to be week by week. Whether you win or lose, you're going to try to learn and grow from it. If you win, you're going to try to carry momentum with it. But we still got to go week by week, and everybody we play is going to be good, and our schedule just continues to get tougher.
Philip, your defense kept you in this game a year ago. Zaven in particular was a big impact player before he left. I think it was at halftime he had to pull out of that game. Is your faith in your defense 1 year later in this matchup just as strong? Was Zaven having moved on? Can that side of the ball, if the offense does need to work out some more wrinkles this Saturday in Stillwater, can the defense keep you close?
Well, I got confidence in our football team across the board, and I especially have confidence in our defense. I mean, obviously, Zaven played extremely well in the first half, but the second half, he wasn't in there, and guys had to step up and play. This year is kind of in that same boat. We got guys that got to step up and play, and we got the guys on defense to be able to do that. I think we're good up front. I think our linebackers played well the other night. We played quite a few of them. Our secondary did the same. We got to do a great job of tackling. We've got to get off the field on third down. When you do those things, you always give yourself an opportunity, and we got to try to create some turnovers. So I got faith in our defense. I've got faith in our special teams. I got faith in us offensively. Is it going to be a tough game and competition is going to be high? Absolutely. But our guys thrive in those types of situations, and they'll be ready to compete, ready to go over and battle. And I know that about our football team.
Are all of the players who were suspended for the opener available?
Everybody's back. Yes.
How difficult was that? Coach Gundy talked about it yesterday, how, people on the outside probably don't realize, but you take away that many guys who you rely on, especially kind of first string guys. It's not as easy to move forward as people think. How different can things look this week with everybody back in the fold?
Well, it is difficult. Obviously, when you're missing some starters, some guys that play significant minutes, they got a ton of experience, some leaders of your team, they're going to make an impact. Obviously, having those guys back, we're excited about. That being said, we've taken care of what we need to take care of, and we're looking forward to them getting back and joining our team and getting on the field with Oklahoma State.
Coach, playing in Stillwater, it's not an easy place to play. And now that fans are back in the stadium, how much do you feel like that's going to play a factor into the Saturday's matchup?
It is a tough place to play, but it's an exciting place to play as well. I mean, obviously you feel the fans, the field is extremely tight. We've been over there several times. I don't think that's going to surprise our guys, having played there the last couple of years and years prior too. So they understand the environment, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like. You look at the weather, I think it's supposed to be another hot day on Saturday. Kicking off at 11 a.m. is a little bit different for everybody. And so, for us, it's going to be a really early morning, get on the bus, travel over there, and get ready to play. But our guys will be excited to play in front of the packed house. I'm sure it'll be full, and it'll be cranking. And our job is to try to keep them quiet if we can.
Hey, Coach, not to focus too much on last week, but you look around college football, there are a lot of close games and a lot of losses with FCS teams upsetting or playing better than people, I guess, would expect. What do you think maybe has gone into that? Seeing the success of those smaller schools, just obviously not just against you guys, but around the nation.
Well, I think everybody's got talent, obviously in our particular situation, I thought we did a really good job of taking care of our special teams. I thought they played extremely well, but we didn't take over the turnovers and the penalties. And those are things we talked about and stressed all the way leading up to game one. I do think a little bit from the FCS side of it, a lot of them played their season in the spring, so you have a lot more carryover, a lot more timing, a lot more rhythm, being able to play in the spring, and now you're back in the fall. You haven't had as much time in between. I think that helps you from a continuity standpoint, especially having, the majority, if not all of your team back from the spring. So I think those were factors for everybody across the country. That being said, I'm not providing any excuses or any of that. UC Davis played well. We had our opportunities. We didn't capitalize on.
You're getting ready to call plays against this OSU defense. You mentioned, a lot like yours, really veteran, and it's been on the come in the last few years. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the unique challenge that Jim Knowles and his defense present?
Well, I've got a lot of respect for him. Every year that we've gone against him, just how completely sound he is, and he does a really good job of being able to schematically get guys unlocked off of blocks, being able to, I don't want to say hide a guy, but be able to put him in a situation where it's very difficult for us from a run game standpoint to be able to get up on him. He's adapted kind of his philosophy probably in that to what they're doing in the secondary now, which is, very similar to what we run. They've got a bunch of DBs back there. They can play a multitude of different coverages. They do a really good job of disguising them. They don't give you a lot of pre-snap ideas of what they're giving you. And then they, who's going to be the box player, who's not going to be the box player. They're always changing it up, mixing it up. And so he keeps you off balance when it comes to that. And then probably better than anybody in the country, I'd venture to say at least, short yardage, when you get in those third and shorts, you get down in the red zone, you get in those goal line situations, they are extremely difficult. I've watched every game, every tape that they've had, and nobody has had success in those areas. You can go back to, OU, as good as they were last year, still struggled in the third down situations. And everybody else they played, didn't matter if you're putting 3 tight ends on the field, you're bringing extra linemen in, if you're trying to spread it out. They're very, very sound in those areas in third down.
You guys, I totaled it up yesterday. It's 12 games in a row where your defense is allowed 30 or less, which is, I think, the third longest streak in the country. And just a few years ago, that would have been completely unthinkable, when, you guys were rebuilding the defense. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing more and more, kind of like Morgan mentioned, scores are changing a little bit. Defenses are gaining back some ground. How, from your point of view, how have you guys gone about doing that? Big picture wise, how have you gone from, 117th in the country in so many things to now pretty consistently having some real success on that side?
Well, I think a lot of it schematically and then recruiting to that scheme. You know, you've got to look at where you are and what you're going to be able to do from a recruiting standpoint. For us, going to the odd front allowed us to really evaluate defensive linemen in a different way and how they would fit into our scheme. Being able to find linebackers that can run, being able to find long secondary guys that can play. There's a few more legit secondary linebacker guys out there than there are D linemen out there. You know, that top echelon of the D linemen, those guys are hard to find and hard to get. And so we've been able to find some really good D linemen that fit to what we do. I mean, whether you're talking about Jackson and Cullen and Anthony Goodlow and Big Cat, I mean, all of those guys up front, they fit into what we're doing. But I think defensively, with all the different safety looks that you can provide now, all the different linebacker looks, you can play it in a multitude of different ways. You're just getting a lot of athletes on the field that can run, that can cover ground, it's difficult to find seams and holes to work in. And so I think that's where you see offensive starting to really trying to find their way through all of this. And what is that niche going to look like, and how do you really go attack it consistently? Because everybody does it a little bit different.
Philip, with the reports out about Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF and the Big 12, I know you're aware of it. I just want to have an idea of how closely you allow yourself to follow that stuff right now with everything else you've got going on, seasons having started and getting things going again in OSU this weekend.
Yeah, to be real honest, you know, that stuff that's going on, do I hear the rumors? Do I have a few conversations here and there with Rick? Yes. But my goal is about our football team, about us performing on Saturday and preparing for Oklahoma State. I've got my hands full enough with that. The rest of it, I'm going to let Rick deal with that, kind of keep me in the loop, and he does a great job of that. So I'm going to let him handle that part of it, and I'm going to try to keep my head down and see what we've got to do football-wise to go win games.
Does he talk to you on a need-to-know basis, or is it you hit a point of your calendar where you know you're going to see him about that kind of stuff?
No, it's more need to know. As things pop up and things change and certain situations are going on, he just keeps me informed. We talk about it, throw that back and forth, and then he goes on and does what he needs to do, and I get back to ball.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Philip, I wanted to ask you about Adam Higuera. He's obviously at a position we don't talk a whole lot about, but what is his value with him, you know, being so consistent throughout his career? I'm guessing that's a guy you don't ever have to worry about, but, you know, what does he bring to the team?
Yeah, I mean, just the level of security and confidence that you have in him and what he does. I mean, he started as a freshman. He snapped at Oklahoma State his freshman year and recovered a fumble in the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, who starts a career like that? So Adam has been special. He's a great leader on our football team, does a great job special teams wise, is bringing guys together, but he works at his craft like no other. I mean, he's always diligent about it. He's in the weight room, he's running, he's snapping, and he brings so much to it and allows us to do some different things because of how talented he really is.
He said that his growth throughout his career has been like tremendous, but like we don't see that. We don't see the difference in what he does. Like, what have you seen from him? Obviously, he's continued to put in the work.
Yeah, more than anything else, let's just the maturity side of it. I mean, he was just young. He didn't really know what was going on. He was like every freshman that comes in, he was immature and he's seeing the bright lights of it all. But you've seen him grow and develop as a young man. And then just from the consistency of what he does, snapping. You know, he can place the ball just about anywhere you want to. If we want to kind of, hey, we're going to roll right here and we're going to I want you to snap it 2 yards outside of him so he can kind of catch it on the run. He can handle that. You know, when it comes to what him and Cannon do on our extra point field goal parts of it, just the consistency of where he's putting it, those two working so well together. those are the things that you talk about, what he does in the coverage side of it, what he does in the protection side of it, just making calls and being on the same page with everybody.
Coach Monty, who was better, him or his brother at long snapping duties?
Well, I mean, I hate that you would put me on the spot like that. I don't really, because they both did a fantastic job, but I would probably say that Adam may be a little bit more talented than his brother.
Any other questions for Coach? All right, thank you, Coach.